Hello, you're watching TVP World News. I'm Jonasz Rewiński. Several people have been killed and more have been injured in an explosion in a luxury Swiss alpine ski resort town of Montana. The police spokesperson told AFP the origin of the explosion remains unknown. A large-scale emergency response is now underway, with a no-fly zone established over the town. Images showing one of the resort's bars on fire were filmed by a New York tourist who witnessed people running and screaming from the Swiss venue. The explosion occurred at around 1:30 a.m. local time, while more than 100 people were inside the building. Police added that they are in the early stages of investigating the incident at the internationally renowned ski resort. A reception and helpline have been set up to assist affected families. Montana is located approximately 40 kilometers north of the Matterhorn. During his first address to the nation in 2026, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy reassured the public of the ongoing efforts to reach a peace deal. He added that Russia has so far been unwilling to end the fighting, but could be compelled to do so if international pressure is applied.
The peace agreement is 90% ready. The remaining 10% is far more than just numbers. This remaining 10% contains everything. They will determine the fate of peace, the fate of Ukraine, and the fate of Europe. They will determine how people live. These 10% are about saving millions of lives. They are about the resolve needed for peace to work at 100%. They are about the unity and wisdom of Ukraine, the United States, Europe, and the entire world. What does Ukraine want? Peace, yes. At any cost? No. We want an end to the war, not the end of Ukraine.
Russian forces conducted drone strikes on multiple Ukrainian regions overnight on the 1st of January, targeting energy infrastructure in the Odesa region and starting a fire in the western city of Lutsk, according to Ukrainian officials. In Odesa, just minutes before the new year, Russia struck energy infrastructure facilities, causing large-scale fires. Several residential buildings and a passenger car were damaged. Preliminary information suggests there were no casualties or injuries, and all fires have been extinguished. In Lutsk, about 420 kilometers west of Kiev, several explosions were reported following drone attacks. There was no immediate information on casualties or the extent of the damage. People around the globe celebrated the arrival of 2026. 12 hours ahead of Warsaw, New Zealand's Auckland was among the first ones to ring in the new year.
From New York's Times Square through Qatar's Lusail Boulevard to Paris's Champs-Élysées, fireworks illuminated the skies around the world. A colorful display also lit up the sky over the ancient Acropolis Hill in Athens, albeit with limited fireworks this year, as the city's mayor expressed a preference for environmentally friendly fireworks, citing concerns about the stress caused to pets and people sensitive to noise. Kiev also welcomed the new year in a quieter fashion due to power shortages amid Russia's ongoing aggression.
Towards the end of the last day of 2025, Polish President Karol Nawrocki delivered a New Year's address to the nation. He reflected on the past 12 months, emphasized the goals for 2026 and shared his hopes for a better year ahead.
If we want to maintain a firm position as one of the strongest countries in the G20, the everyday lives of Poles will have to be normal, better and secure. History has taught us that lesson. Economic strength is crucial. We can only be a military power if we can afford a modern army that effectively deters our foes and protects Polish soil. We have to consistently build and expand our armed forces. Peace comes at a price, but the cost of war is even higher. Poland is strong in NATO, but more than anything else, we need to count on ourselves. Security and development are not goals in and of themselves. They ensure the conditions for a dignified life, for respectable work, for a state that doesn't leave its citizens to fend for themselves, but enables them to confidently plan for their futures. These are our three goals: development, security, and a better life for Poles. Let that be our common good goal for the coming new year.
Prime Minister Donald Tusk urged emergency services to prepare for the worst as Poland faces further snowstorms and wintry weather. As a result of inclement weather conditions, Warsaw's Modlin Airport was forced to close temporarily, and drivers faced long delays on a key highway connecting the capital and the Baltic city of Gdańsk. Natalia Komarow reports.
This is what you'd want from a sudden attack of winter.
Oh, it's beautiful. We have a bit of snow, some sunshine.
But this is what Polish drivers got instead. Hours and hours on the S7 expressway, one of Poland's most vital arteries connecting Warsaw and Gdańsk. Maintenance personnel fought the elements overnight to make at least one lane drivable in each direction.
We are working to clear the roads up. Currently, we have 4,300 police involved, and further 10,000 officers will join the operations later today.
Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said all emergency response services must prepare for the worst-case scenario.
I know it's not within human powers to prevent all consequences of bad weather, snowstorms, frost. Sometimes they cause tragedies, but no bad or tragic event can take place due to our oversight.
As the snow blanket grew even thicker, it forced the shutdown of Warsaw Modlin Airport. Hundreds of people were left stranded, and even after the runway was cleared of snow, passengers had to deal with delays.
It was not normal snowfall, but snowstorms and flurries that caused traffic disruptions.
The Polish Institute of Meteorology issued weather alerts across the country, warning of powerful blizzards and sub-zero temperatures.
On New Year's Eve, we expect temperatures to drop as low as -15 degrees in the center, northeast, and east of the country.
Better take that into consideration when planning your New Year's Eve.
We're in the process of removing snow off the roof. I've heard it might get to 60 cm of snow per square meter, so quite a lot.
Stay warm, stay safe, and pay attention to official weather warnings. For TVP World, Natalia Komarow.
Starting on the 1st of January 2026, Cyprus is assuming the 6-month rotating presidency of the Council of the European Union. In his letter, Cypriot President Nikos Christodoulidis said that the country is assuming its 6-month role with a specific vision for a Europe that can stand taller and bolder in a turbulent, shifting world. Christodoulidis added that his country's unwavering support for Ukraine will continue on all fronts, and that its EU presidency will focus on enhancing security and defense, crisis preparedness, and addressing migration in a comprehensive manner. During its presidency, Cyprus, one of the EU's smaller member states, also intends to strengthen cooperation with the United States, cut red tape for a robust European economy, and advance enlargement for a stronger, more secure and stable union. With oil prices in decline for the 3rd year in a row, it's all good news for consumers, but bad news for countries whose petroleum industries have been hit with sanctions. As the price for crude experienced a 15% drop over the last 12 months, Russia in particular has been forced to adjust its growth forecast as a vital part of its economy continues to suffer. Maciej Wielowski reports.
Oil prices sold off in 2025, with the price of Brent crude, the benchmark for oil prices in Europe, down more than 15% over the past 12 months. It was the 3rd straight year of falling prices, the longest streak on record, and a stark contrast to earlier in the decade when the reopening of the global economy from the COVID-19 pandemic and Russia's invasion of Ukraine drove prices higher. What drove prices lower in 2025? On the one hand, supply is abundant as major oil-producing countries like Saudi Arabia and the US have ramped up production.
We have almost record global production, not just from OPEC plus, but from United States, Brazil, Guyana.
The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, together with partners like Brazil and Russia, raised output by close to 3 million barrels per day this year. At the same time, production in the U.S., now the world's single biggest oil-producing country, hit a record 13.8 million barrels per day in September. And on the other hand, a combination of tariffs, geopolitical uncertainty, and economic weakness in major oil importing countries like China have lowered the demand for oil.
We have also a very important, if not the most important player in oil, as on the demand side, China, which faces economic slowdown, so they will be buying less.
Prices could fall further in 2026. In its latest forecast published earlier this month, the U.S. Energy Information Administration forecasts Brent crude prices will average $55 per barrel next year. That's down from Wednesday's price of close to $62. While lower prices are welcome news for countless drivers around the world who stand to pay less at the gas pump, countries like Russia that are heavily reliant on energy exports could be negatively impacted.
Moscow's finances balance around $75 per barrel. Below that, the government must tap reserves or borrow more.
This could add to the list of economic problems the Kremlin faces, including slowing growth, labor shortages, and Ukrainian attacks on the country's energy infrastructure. With ample supply and lackluster demand likely to continue into next year, oil could be headed for further losses in 2026. Maciej Wilowski for TVP World.
This was an ending to the year that this German bank did not see coming. On Monday morning, local law enforcement officials discovered that the bank had fallen victim to a Hollywood-style heist. The thieves, during the Christmas period, drilled their way through a wall straight into the bank vault, escaping with deposits worth some 10 million euros. Here is more.
Branch closed until further notice. This was the message posted on a door of this Sparkasse bank in Gelsenkirchen, Germany on Wednesday morning. The reason? A bank robbery.
No one could have realized that anything had happened, and in our little city district, Buer of all places, thieves are everywhere. They turn everything upside down here. They stole from me too.
Alerted by a fire alarm, police discovered the break-in on Monday morning, but it was already too late.
On Monday morning, we were alerted by a fire alarm at the Sparkasse Gelsenkirchen bank. However, what we found was a break-in, not a fire.
According to police reports, the thieves, unnoticed by anyone during the Christmas period, drilled their way through a wall straight into the bank vault, escaping with deposits worth some 10 million euros.
According to our findings, a large vault room at the bottom had been broken into, or drilled into, one might say, from the back or a side wall. There we found a large hole through which the perpetrators had entered the vault room. They broke into a large number of safe deposit boxes and took most of their contents.
As the investigation continues, uncertainty among the bank's clients is mounting. On Tuesday, December 30th, a large crowd of customers gathered in front of the building, calling for clarity on who has been affected.
And that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and please stay with us here on TVP World.